Good morning. How y'all doing? Data here, coming to you from having been all packed up now and ready to head out at about 8 o'clock in the morning on I think it's Wednesday, May 7th. I'm at a DCA and I have an interesting hike today. Interesting in big air quotes. I have about a 2.8 mile hike to the trailhead that is the southern end of the Fern Glen segment of the Ice Age Trail. Then I have a 7-mile long road walk. And then I have a 1.5 mile hike in the Spring Hill Field or Springfield Hill, something like that, segment to a DCA. But since I'm going to be out on the roads, I learned yesterday the road walks keep you out in the sun a lot. So I'm doing my headgear a little bit differently today. I'll put a baseball cap on over this for my eyes, but it's not supposed to be really hot, but I'll be in the sun. So instead of putting the hair in a ponytail or tied up in a little knot up under my baseball cap, I'm going to wear it down to give the back of my neck a little bit of shielding from the sun. I have. So here's my first vista of the day. I think this part of the trail might be snowmobiling or ATV also kind of a part of the trail, or it was at some point. But it takes you down the side of this valley. Kind of a nice view off into the distance of the Wisconsin countryside. Some of that's farmland, but some of it, like right down in here, looks like it's part of the marsh that is the Lodi Marsh segment. So I'm starting to think this might be one of my favorite features of the Ice Age Trail. I'm coming up on a trail junction here, which is really nicely marked, where the Twin Pines parking area is indicated by a blue blaze and an arrow and a description, and it runs down this way in case you had to get off trail or you had parked down there or something. But at a lot of these trail junctions, you'll have benches. This is Jerry's bench. The journey is the destination. So I love that, but I also love that Jerry referred to here is Jerry Pertzborn, the plumber of Lodi Marsh and a trail volunteer extraordinaire. The Pertzborns, you might remember, are folks who donated that easement, that conservation easement, back at the beginning of Lodi March. So I don't know if plumber of Lodi March refers to the gentleman's actual profession, or if it had something to do with how much work he put in. But I came up on another one of these viewpoints. Vistas out over the Wisconsin valleys. And it might not come through on the camera, but most of what you're seeing in front of you is not farmland. It's some kind of a grassland. I don't know if it's protected or not. But it's certainly not actively farmed now. There's a little swamp right in the middle of it, kind of a thing. I think there's a name for that. It's a indentation left behind by the glaciers. And again, I'm not an expert on glacial terminology, but there's a word for that. It's a little round pond sunk in the middle of a valley. Those look like I'm going. So I'm about to exit the Fern Glen segment and begin my 7-mile road walk down to Spring Hill Fields or Springfield Hill, whichever it is. And I've stumbled across a plant that I can't exactly identify, but I think this might be ghost pipe in bloom. If not, it's something else, and would somebody please correct me? as to what it is, but it's a prettiest little white flowers, and there's a couple little collections of it. And I only said I thought it was ghost pipe because it's got kind of the right size, and it's kind of a off-white stem, and the flowers are kind of tipping over. But I've only ever seen pictures of it on videos, and it never has flowers on it. So I don't know if that's a ghost pipe in bloom or something else, but I'd love to know what that is. The Robertson trailhead was not the southern terminus of the Fern Glen segment. It was kind of the midway. Now I'm coming across a boardwalk through a swampy area, and I've got some water down here. Doesn't look too bad, but I can't really get to it very easily. I just talked to a fisherman who told me that somewhere along here there are some steps, and the steps would take me down to the trout stream where I would be allowed to get some water. He's an old timer. He's been here his whole life, it sounds like. He was 74, and he's been fishing and hiking in this area his whole life. Well, I'm up off of the trout stream without finding water, but I'm okay, I think. But every time you come out of a valley here on the IAT, you get into a prairie preserve, and I tend to stumble across these vistas, which are really pretty nice. And I'm headed this way, continuing up this hill. So I'm 3 miles in, and I'm at the point where the Fern Glen segment ends on its south terminus, and there's no kiosk here, so I'm a little disappointed. There's a trail that actually leads back to the kiosk I was at earlier, but here there's just this gate and not a bench or anything to sit on. So it's a pretty scenery off in the distance, but I am going to have about a 15-minute pack-off break right here because I have that 7-mile road walk that is about to begin right now. So I'm going to park myself in the shade of this, I think that's a big old overgrown honeysuckle. I got a little spot of shade here for a little while, and take 10 or 15 minutes and recoup and get mentally geared up for getting out on that road right there and doing a 7-mile road walk down to the next segment. So, jackpot. Fresh running water in a big stream. I just walked down this hill and filtered about 1.5 liters, and now I'm all completely hydrated, cameled up a little bit, and I'm walking away with 2 liters. And that intersection up there in the distance is the first right-hand turn about 0.6 of a mile after a hiker comes out of the Fern Glen southern terminus of that segment. So I don't know if this is always running, but it's a pretty good sized creek. So my guess is, at least until the heat of summer, this probably always has water in it. And you can get down to it on either side on the eastern end. It's not too hard. It doesn't look really great, but it's clearly a path. In fact, there's a quaint, or creepy, I don't know how you think about it. I think it's quaint, but it looks like abandoned home over on this side, and there's another one on the other side, like their old homesteads. And I might Hibbing Mountain, 85. Lodi, California, 2,031 miles that way. Maui is 4,138 miles. But this says Ice Age Trail Hikers Rest Area. And this is not an official thing, I don't think, by the Ice Age Trail. This is just something a nice person did along the trail. This is the Trail Magic Garden. It says, rest your feet, come into the garden and lose your mind to save your soul. It's a famous old hiker's motto.
it's nice that they created something for us to sit and rest on, but these folks got nice and creative too. They've landscaped along here with some daffodils and other stuff. And there's a table and some chairs. Hey, I really just need a place to sit down and take my shoes off and take a shoes off, pack off break after I survey the place. But it's really nice of people along the trail to do all this. I know that the Ice Age Trail Alliance does a lot of things to build the trail, just like the AT does, but really the spirit of the trail, of this trail like the AT, will be determined by what individual people along the trail want it to be. So, oh, this is a cooler and it says water, so let's see, do we have water? I wouldn't be surprised if it was empty. There's not a lot of hikers out right now. There are waters in there, several of them. So I got 2 liters, but I need another liter for this evening, but I think that's probably all I'll take. I'll leave the rest for the next fella. Look at that, and it's cold. Thank you, trail angels. My goodness. So now I'm going to sit down and clear off a spot in the shade here and take a pack off. Boots off, shoes off, probably break. Eat myself. Hey there. How y'all doing? So this is Data coming to you from that through hiker's rest garden that I walked up on a little while ago. I was here about 15 minutes, and wouldn't you know it, but the nice trail angel lady who made all of this possible pulled up into her driveway and got out of her SUV and came over and chatted for a little while. Almost chokes me up, because this lady was just the perfect example of what we all hikers want when we think of a trail angel. She refused to take a dime from me several times. She didn't want to be on YouTube, and I understand that. Her name begins with a B, but I'll respect her privacy because I don't even know if she wants her name known. But she does want me to spread the word about her little site here. So it's hard to know where to begin because she's a wonderful lady. There's water here, and there's a little metal garden decoration thing that you can put your empty water bottles in when you're done drinking. There's a wall behind me, which I showed earlier, which is a wall of ribbon, and that's a memory wall that was started in honor of a son that she lost many years ago. It was, and then so this lady and her husband started this little trail angel sanctuary garden here because their daughter and son-in-law, are big through hikers. They've hiked the AT and the IAT and several other trails evidently. And she had asked her daughter what kind of things do people need when they're hiking past here on this long road walk. And her daughter said, well, you know, a place to sit and a chair and some shade and a little bit of water. And this lady's a pretty avid gardener, so that's where all of the flowers have come from. She gardens up here with, and occasionally they will even let people tent camp here, although I don't know. She said it was okay. There's no official thing about it. So, you know, if you decide to tent camp here, just stay up here near this garden and be kind of careful about it. She and her husband are retired, and they live up a big dirt driveway up on the property, so they'd probably stop by and talk to you. But I don't think they'd take any money off of you if you begged them to. And you're in the shade along a creek. The creek's dry right now, but again, this is I think the 3rd bottle of water that I've consumed or taken with me. And again, she won't take a dime for it. I've been here about a half an hour, and I'm going to stay here about an hour, about another half an hour. That'll be about 12:30. I've got about a 5-mile road walk after that. Probably the nicest thing about this piece of trail magic, this little garden, is that it is about 2.5 or 3 miles into what is a 7-mile road walk, without a lot of other places to stop and you know, get some shade and relax a little bit. So it's just perfectly placed. And I would just say that you know, this is what you look for when you hike in terms of a trail angel. So I just want to thank you very much to the lady and her husband who are the trail angels here, and also really to her daughter and son-in-law who are the hikers who inspired them to set this up. So this is very nice. I'm very grateful today. I'm a lucky man. So and she said spread the word, so I'm going to spread the word, and anybody who sees this, who's hiking the Ice Age Trail, you know, you can count on this evidently being here as long as this lady is here to maintain it. So I'm about a mile into the road walk. I've climbed up the hill. And that barn says it was built in 1898, and I want to believe them. But isn't that not? Well, another half mile in, and I came across this old house. It's stone. Got to date back to the 1800s. And a little driveway up to it. It's next to a more modern tri-level house, but it's not preserved, but it's also not being allowed to completely fall apart. So it put me in mind of the Bear's Den Trail Hostel and Trail Center along the AT, which the ATC bought, I think, back in the 1980s, and then rerouted the trail and turned it into a hiking center and all kinds of things. And this old building just has a similar kind of ambiance to it, and it's not being used right now. So, you know, someday that might make a nice hostel along the AT. It looks as though my long 7-mile day of road walking is coming to an end. This is the Springfield Hill Natural Resource Area, which is a part of the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. And this segment is a little loop. And you can see I'm right there. And the designated camping area is off on the right there. And I'm going to hike it on the top loop of that over to the designated camping area, because that's what the map says you should do. And then I'll tomorrow morning get up and hike back out the other way. 2:30. I started the road walk about, I don't know, noon. So 7 miles in 2.5 hours or so. I made pretty good time. They've had me climbing up the far side of this, the ridge on the far side of this little indentation from the glaciers. The whole time I've been doing this hike. And it's even gotten to the point where they have switchbacks built. But it ought to be getting pretty more typical IATA fashion. There's also a bench right up here at the top where you sit and look out on the... Enjoy the Ice Age Trail, cherish your memories, Dane County Parks. So it does suggest to me that there's the view. So now the path at the Springfield Hill segment is taking me back up on the hillside where it's wooded. A little bit more mountainy. And it turns out that the DCA is tucked back in here somewhere with its supposed tent pad. But it's funny how it was a prairie right there at the beginning, just half a mile or so from here. That just got kind of all kinds of windy and hilly little woodland. I think I have arrived. Looks like the trail goes actually up the steps. No, I think the trail goes down that way. I think the DCA is up the steps. But I'm going to consult with Far Out real quick and see. Yeah, the designated camping area was up the steps and up the hill. And much more in keeping with other National Scenic Trails, this designated camping area is a nice, 1/10 or 2/10 of a mile off of the main trail. So I'll have a lot more privacy up here unless somebody else has already gotten into it. Here's the tent pad. It does look pretty level. It doesn't have much of a view, but that's fine. And then this is kind of nice. There's a bench put in here, a pair of them, both of them of the Aldo Leopold design thing, but this one has a little side table on each side for you to put your stove on, and a reminder to leave no trace. And there's a mailbox for the trail registry. I'll sit down on this bench for a second. That is where my tent will be. And I'm liking this little DCA. This is very nice. So this is the first for me on this trail. I've now met another thru hiker, and this one's a triple crowner. Nice to meet you, Greg, in a while.
Hey. Hello.
You want to be on video?
Sure.
So this is Greg in Wild. So we've had a great conversation here this evening, and he's a triple crowner, and he's the first guy that Cheryl, what's her name, meets in Wild.
Cheryl Strayed hiked part of the PCT in 1995. I was the first PCT hiker that she met. 15 years later, she publishes a #1 best-selling book, and I'm in it. Page 86.
So you've done the Triple Crown, and what else?
And well, this is my fourth
Okay.
really long distance through hike.
And you started here up in St. Croix, right? How long ago?
St. Croix Falls on March 24.
Yeah. So he's through hiking for real instead of doing it a little bit at a time like I am. So, and he just wandered into camp today, and we've had a good conversation.
Yeah, right. And Data is the first person I've shared a campsite with.
In all these months.
Right. Since March 24, I've camped solo every time, except for some of the state parks.
So I've heard people say that hiking the Ice Age Trail now is like hiking the AT was like 50 or 60 years ago. Do you think that's probably true?
Could be, and also maybe the Pacific Crest Trail in the early 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say I'm not any good at hiking yet, and yet out here I feel more like I'm hiking in the wild on this trail, even with the road walks and stuff, than I ever do on the AT. Whenever I'm hiking little pieces of the AT like I've been working on, there's always someone with me.
I don't mind the road walks. They're easy miles, but they're hard on the feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because it's a hard surface. But.
Yeah, I had that same thought in some other clips I've shot of myself because I grew up out in the country. It's pretty scenery. Even on the road walks, it's beautiful country. But the asphalt's a little tough after a while. Anyway, thanks for camp, and maybe we'll do dinner tomorrow night.
Look forward to it.
And that's the end of day 3. 11.7 miles from Lodi Marsh to the Springfield Hill Settlement. And happy trails to each of you.